This is the GEPRC Cinelog 30 V3, and it's marketed as the go-to drone for tight indoor spaces and cinematic fly-throughs. But how does it actually hold up, and can it do more than just hover around the living room? In this video, I'll walk you through what's in the box, the setup I have for this drone, how I got on to fly in this 2.9 million euro property, plus the mistakes that I made, and whether it can freestyle. But first, let's take a look at what's inside the box. Now, GEPRC do a really good job with their packaging, in my opinion. When opening the box, we'll reveal some really nice artwork or some flight safety information and some of the other drones GEPRC have. Underneath the GEPRC branded padded square, we'll reveal the Cinelog 30 inside in a tray. And the drone comes flat packed with the antennas outside their mount with some blue tape around them. If we remove the tray itself, underneath the secondary sleeve, if we lift that up, we'll show you the additional black frame that we get, which is a nice extra touch. We also get 3 extra canopies, orange, black, and gray. You get 1 set of spare props. I wish it did have 2. You also get a battery strap, some grip pads as well, in addition to spare hardware, manuals, and some stickers. Now, the Cinelog 30 V3 version I have here is a bind and fly with TBS crossfire. Now, this is really straightforward in Betaflight. The main things I wanted to adjust though was to add angle and horizon mode, as well as adjusting the controls for the LEDs to be able to turn them on and off, and to customize my OSD so I can have all the telemetry information available in my goggles. So normally I would do my FPV testing in the field over here, but I thought I'll change it up, different location. We'll go back to the amphitheater to see if the Cinelog 30 V3 can support additional cameras. I just want to find out if it does. That's all it is. Now, the batteries that I'll be using throughout this video for my testing was GEPRC's own Storm 720 milliamp LiPo high voltage battery. I have Tattoo Airlines 750 and 650 LiPos, and also a Buzz Power 900 milliamp LiPo. And I'll put all the flight times for those and all the weights on screen now so you can see. Just note that depending on the battery type and usage you get, the flight times will vary. However, in cruising mode, you're probably going to get around 5 to 6 minutes. That's what I was achieving with just like some slow cruising. And if you're going to push it a little bit harder, you probably get 3 to 4 minutes if you're doing some freestyle. And I'll get to that later on in this video. Now, one thing to note here, that even though that GEPRC include the canopies, they don't actually support the cameras for Insta360 or DJI because it's completely different. So I had to go and get one printed, and I found a print, and I asked my friend Andre if he could print this for me so I can mount it to the drone and be able to test whether this drone can actually support the weight of these cameras. And I tested the Go 3S, which is probably the lighter setup, the Action 2, which is still a viable option even in 2025, and the DJI Action 5 as well. I know we probably won't be using this because that camera is really heavy, but for shits and giggles, I wanted to see if the drone can support it, and in the short, yes, the Cinelog 30 V3 can support and fly the DJI Action 5. So if you're someone who wants backup footage, or you want better footage, or trust the Action 5 better, that's definitely an option, a viable option for you. Now, a little bit on the weak point of this drone, because after setting this up, the original antennas didn't have any of this PVC piping on. And then I went to do a hover test after setting up in Betaflight, and I just did a light landing. And straight away I heard this noise, and lo and behold, when I went to check the drone, the TBS antenna was just completely destroyed. So after speaking to my friend Andre again, he recommended if I had any PVC piping. He gave me, even though I had some from my Cinelog 25. So essentially, to make this repair and improve the TBS Tango antenna, which needs more support. I don't understand why GEPRC missed out on this, because ELRS doesn't have this issue because the antenna is really small, and plug and play you don't have this issue. But for TBS Tango, definitely do this before you go and fly your drone. So add the PVC piping, and I angled it so it will point backwards, so that way if the drone does land, even if it's a light touch, that the antennas aren't going to get sucked into the rear and destroyed and frayed by the props. And even if they do, it will add protection, because that's what happened to me when I was flying indoor for Leptos, which we'll get to in just a moment. Now, GEPRC have made some recent updates to the Cinelog 30, as you can see on screen here. So I don't know if they're gonna take into account the actual issue with the antennas here, but that's something that you're probably gonna have to do if you ever pick this drone up. The other thing that Calibri mentioned in his review of the GEPRC 30V3 is to add a zip tie to the VTX antennas for DJI, because they are prone to coming out, especially if you have a hard landing. And the last thing you need is to go turtle mode. These antennas are stuck inside the actual props, and you're gonna just chew it up and rip it up completely. So just make sure this is secure before you go flying. The other thing to mention is that this Cinelog 30 has a dampening system for the O4A unit, which is great to help remove vibrations. However, do check that the O4 cable is tucked away. I have noticed that I feel, because the cable is so close to the props, it does need a little bit more secure. So I just put some electrical tape here just to secure it so it doesn't come out. But I think this needs a better solution. Now, every time I watch an FPV review video, everyone talks about specs, and these are great and people already do a good job of it. However, when you're throwing numbers and things at me, it's very overwhelming.
Reaction to generate the 1.21 gigawatts of electricity.
1.21 gigawatts! Please, cut!
What does it mean? If the flight controller is an FC blah, 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 like what does that mean? Is it better? Is it worse? Is it lighter? This is what I'm trying to get to. So instead of overwhelming you with this, you can always go to the manufacturer's website, GEPRC, list all their specs there. I will put a link in the description box down below. But what I will talk about is the specs that actually matter when we're looking at these drones. The first up is the weight. So you're looking around at the light is set up 260, 270 grams. The batteries that you're gonna need are an XT30 connector, and the props for this drone are HQ props DT 76 millimeters, 3 prop bladed V2s. You could probably use a 5 blade as well if you want to try something different. The actual chassis of the drone is made from this like injection molded plastic, and on the outside it does have the LED strip, which is removable if you needed to mount it into the black frame. The great thing about this quad is that it's very easily to maintain. You have 2 screws at the front and 2 screws at the back. You just need to remember to unplug the LED strip at the rear. Then you have 4 screws at the bottom, and that's because it's holding the DJI Air unit. And then you have 2 screws either side of the actual battery strap, and then you'll be able to carefully remove this and maintain the drone and do any maintenance on it. I really like that. So in case you want to go from one frame to the other, or in case you break anything, it's very accessible. Now, the drone doesn't come as standard with a GPS unit, and I was okay with that. I don't see a need for a GPS unit for this drone. This isn't a long range drone that you could be flying outside much. So how far are you gonna realistically go in 5 or 6 minutes? I would imagine this is a more of an indoor cruising drone. So you're probably gonna be more local in your area where you're flying. So you're not gonna be able to lose it. However, you can have the option to include a GPS mount yourself. And even for the canopy, people have 3D mounts to be able to place the GPS unit on top of the camera mount. That is what I've seen online from doing my research. Personally, I'm gonna stick to mine not having a GPS unit because I don't plan flying much with this long range. And finally, as for the motors, again, people throwing numbers, what do they actually mean?
What the hell is a gigawatt?
These motors are 1404, 3850 kV. And if you compare that to the Cinelog 25 that I have, these are the exact same motor size, 1404, but these are 4500 kV. Essentially, lower kV is more torque, which is less top end speed, but it's better for supporting heavier payloads like action cameras. And the Cinelog 25, which has a higher kV, which means higher RPM, faster throttle response, it's more agile and zippier, but they're better for lighter payloads. That's all that you need to know with that.
Do you know what this means?
So what better way to test the Cinelog 30V3 than to do an indoor FPV fly-through? I mean, this is what this drone's intended purpose is. I mean, that's what I think it is. Let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think the intended purpose for this drone would be? So I put out a message on Instagram asking if anyone would like a free FPV fly-through. Now, I didn't get any bites initially, so I reached out to my friend Savas, who you may have seen from previous videos with the DJI RS4 Mini, and I'll link that down below. But Savas works for Leptos Real Estates, and they're a large company here in Cyprus, and they also have properties in Greece as well. And a short while later, Savas got back to me and they were on board for the indoor FPV fly-through. So after setting this drone up and getting it prepared, the following week in Kolbe Buffos is where I performed the shoot. Now, I actually didn't know this property was worth 2.9 million euros until Savas and I had lunch once the shoot was over, which is probably better because I was already nervous. I did all that, I didn't even press record. So today we're on Buffos. This is Savas. You might remember him from the DJI RS4 Mini video. This is what you've been waiting for. GEPRC Cinelog 30v3, and we're doing an indoor FPV shoot. So it is slightly windy because we are on the coast and it is hot today. But what I'm doing now is I'm going to do a walkthrough to see how I want to fly the drone. There's actually a little bit of wind, so this is where it's going to be a struggle to adjust how I fly outside and inside, and whether I stick to angle mode or air mode. So I'm going to walk like through the house, come through the entrance. Where do I position myself? Where am I going to get the best signal not to be seen? And also fly around the whole house to show you. Also, there was a swimming pool as well, so I had to be careful when trying to fly as well, because the last thing that I wanted was for this drone to take a dip and yeah, not being able to have any footage. So one of the mistakes I actually made was not to bring a backup quad. I should have brought the Cinelog 25, but I completely forgot, so that was my bad. The other thing as well, as soon as I got there, I realized that I didn't bring any spare props either. So I had to make sure that nothing would go wrong. One of the props would break, because then I wouldn't have anything to replace it with. Luckily, nothing had gone wrong there either. However, while the gardener was finishing up, I decided to do a few practice runs. Before I could even do that though, I did a hover test. But because I landed so awkwardly, when I landed, I noticed that the camera unit was like angled weird and the prop wasn't arming, which I found very strange. So after inspecting the drone, the weirdest thing had happened. Alright, so a couple of things that happened, because this drone isn't indestructible. Like, mistakes happen, you have to make repairs on site. So because I was so nervous in the beginning, one thing that happened is that this drone bounced so hard that this dampening unit had gone all the way down and the prop had actually jammed inside. And the only way I noticed that was in the goggles was because the camera was like bent. I was like, how's that bent already? I thought they just came out the dampeners, but no, the prop got stuck inside. And this dampening unit, there's fluff in the prop. This dampening unit isn't solid plastic. It's actually like rubber a bit and it's split. I'll take a picture and do it properly, but it is split right there. I'll show you guys on screen. And then again, I had a couple of drops and the dampening system came apart. No problem. Just make sure you pack string with you in your kit. That's something I didn't pack, so I was able to pull it through. I'll show you a trick maybe on a short. But this drone, I love this drone. It flies so nice, but it's not foolproof and it still needs some improvements. So, all went well, very echoey here. We had to do a few runs, because obviously the gardener, wind, just everything. The first run was scary as hell because I was so nervous and twitchy. I just was just too nervous. But that's fine. Once you get rid of those nerves, the second, the third run, much better. And then once you're in the flow, you're good to go. Obviously, you have to do several runs because you're going to make mistakes. I did hit the door, maybe hit the stairs as well. But it happens. Until you get that perfect run, you have to keep flying and doing it once you figure out the loop that you want to do. So right now, Savas has helped me with thumbnails that I needed with him taking me. It's a lot easier than using a tripod and using a timer. Now I'm just doing like the studio shot. So I don't know which thumbnail did you see? Let me know down below. So we've seen how good this drone can be flying indoors, but can it freestyle? In short, yes, it can, but don't expect to pull maneuvers like Maverick and Top Gun with this drone. Ow! Now you could use a bigger battery or additional camera to add more weight, but then the center of gravity be front heavy and may not be as balanced. Also, this drone doesn't have much inertia to carry the momentum when trying to do flips and rolls, so it would be very floaty. Don't forget, this drone is much lighter than the DJI Avata 2, which weighs 377 grams, and this drone is at least 100 grams lighter than that. I mean, if you have this drone and have flown it freestyle or tried, let me know down below. And also, like I said earlier, if it's a bit windy, you can feel it. Like if you're going to use this outdoors, you can use it to chase skaters at a local park. This would be fine because you're going to be low to the ground. As you know, this drone is light and it's safe with the prop guards. And if you're going to push this drone, you won't get much flight time. I mean, I was getting 3 to 4 minutes when trying to do some acrobatic and trying to push this drone to its max. So who's this drone for? If you're filming FPV fly-throughs for real estate content, or just want a safe way to practice close quarters FPV, this is a really good drone. It's really easy to fly, even in air mode. Like I wouldn't even bother with angle horizon. Like air mode is so easy and controllable. I was so surprised. Like there's been a lot of high praise for this drone and just the easeability of how it can fly. As for being well built, it is a well constructed drone. I do like the fact it's very repairable. However, there are issues with the antenna mount and TBS crossfire specifically. It does need reinforcing. Also, I do like the dampening system for this drone. However, in my experience, I should say, the prop got lodged in here. So that was very random. It might not happen again, but you just have to be wary to make sure this is properly secure. Just do a once over on the drone. I think that the DJI 4 Air unit cable for the actual camera needs to be better supported. Like currently, I've temporarily mounted some electrical tape to keep it there. However, if you crash hard enough, the frame's going to break, that cable's going to pop out and then just rip it out completely. And then you're going to probably need to do a major repair for this drone with a new DJI 4 camera unit. So like the build itself is good. It just needs the finishing touches. The one thing I do want to do with this drone though, because it has the LEDs, which is really cool, is I want to do a long exposure photo to have the light trails in a photo. So I need to figure out a day where I can go and do that, because that's just really cool. Having LEDs is really cool. And I wish we could change colors and things like that. So if there was like an update to this drone, I wish GEPRC would allow us to at least be able to change the colors and whether we can do like rotating patterns. Really cool drone. And also give us some more props. I know this is a Cinelog, but yeah, just one set of props I don't think is enough. I think we need at least 2. So if you're interested in picking up the GEPRC Cinelog 30V3, I have an affiliate link in the description box down below. You get 5% off when you buy through this link from GEPRC, as well as any other accessories as well. I do recommend the 720 mAh LiPo batteries, the high voltage ones. If you wanted to go sub 250, which will be a squeeze, you're probably going to need to go for the 660 high voltage batteries. I'd also recommend picking up some spare props as well, because you only get 1 set in the box. If you enjoyed this video, remember to give it a like and subscribe for more videos on drones, photography, and more gear reviews. And also, let me know your thoughts down below. Is this a drone that you're interested in, or is there something else that you prefer? And if you want to watch a video for a similar setup with the DJI Avata 2, then check out this video here. And if you have problems with the DJI Action 5 with Jello, then check out this video here. I'll see you in the next video.